Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where everyone thinks sharing every last detail about their lives is the way to build connections. But let me tell you something: success and strength come from knowing when to keep things to yourself. You don't need everyone's validation, you don't need everyone's sympathy. The truth is, some things are just better left unsaid, and sharing too much can cost you. Here are 5 things you should never share with anyone. Ever heard of the saying, don't count your chickens before they hatch? Don't go around announcing your grand plans. Keep them locked up until you've made them real. Why? Because people's opinions will poison your potential. If they don't believe in you, they'll tear your plans down before you've even started. Let me be clear, nobody needs to know where you're vulnerable. There's no quicker way to be manipulated than to expose your weaknesses. Keep a poker face, guard your vulnerabilities. Show people what you want them to see, not your soft spots. Money talks, but that doesn't mean you should go running your mouth about it. Let them think what they want. They don't need to know what you have or don't have. Make them guess. Flaunting wealth can attract the wrong kind of attention, and sharing struggles can attract pity, not support. Some things are sacred, like family matters and personal relationships. It's a sign of strength to protect the things closest to your heart. You don't need outside opinions on things they don't understand, and most won't appreciate it anyway. Keep them guessing. Don't telegraph your punches. A true player never reveals their strategy. Let them see the results, not the roadmap. Keep your cards close to your chest and make your move only when it's time to strike. When it comes to the dreams and plans that truly matter, there's a certain power in holding them close. Imagine your big goals as seeds planted deep within you, seeds that need care, patience, and nurturing before they're ready to break through the surface. When we share our plans too soon, it can feel like we're asking the world for validation or approval, but sharing prematurely can expose them to doubts, judgments, and even well-meaning advice that might cause us to question our direction before it's had a chance to fully form. Keeping these plans to ourselves allows them to develop in a safe space, free from the noise of other people's expectations. It's about honoring the process, staying grounded, and believing in your capacity to bring them to life. Sometimes the best way to strengthen our intentions is to protect them, letting them unfold at their own pace. Holding your big dreams close doesn't mean you're hiding them. It's about trusting that they're significant enough to give them the time and focus they deserve without outside influence. In that quiet, protected space, they have room to grow strong and ready to be realized. When we carry big dreams and ambitions, there's a quiet wisdom in keeping them close to our hearts. It's not about secrecy, it's about giving our plans room to grow, unshaken by the judgments and opinions of others. When we share our dreams too soon, we risk inviting doubt into the process, and even the most well-intentioned feedback can shift our focus or lead us to second-guess our abilities. Holding on to our visions privately lets us nurture them with a steady confidence, unfiltered by the expectations and pressures others may place on us. There's strength in allowing our dreams to take shape in silence, giving ourselves the time to build, develop, and connect deeply with the purpose behind each goal. It's in that protected space that our plans become something truly ours, a creation that comes from within and isn't diluted by external influence. When the timing is right, when we feel solid in our path, that's when we can share our progress and reveal the dream. Until then, letting our plans stay close keeps them safe and nurtures them, giving them the best possible chance to grow into something extraordinary. There's courage in acknowledging our own weaknesses, but there's also wisdom in choosing carefully when and with whom we share them. Recognizing where we feel vulnerable is an important part of self-awareness and growth, but it doesn't mean that everyone needs or deserves to see those tender places. Some parts of us are raw and sensitive, and by holding them close, we're creating a boundary that keeps our growth process safe from outside interference or misunderstanding. Protecting our weaknesses isn't about hiding them or pretending to be stronger than we are. Rather, it's about honoring our own journey. We have the right to be selective about who we trust with the most vulnerable parts of ourselves. Sharing these areas of sensitivity with only those who have earned our trust can be a powerful act of self-respect. It's about creating a safe space where we can explore our challenges, knowing we won't be judged or exploited. By being mindful about who we open up to, we give ourselves room to work through our weaknesses in a way that fosters true resilience, knowing that we are supporting our own growth even if the world doesn't see it all. Acknowledging our weaknesses takes courage, yet there's an even deeper strength in recognizing that not everyone needs access to our most vulnerable spaces. We all have parts of ourselves that feel fragile, areas where we're still learning, growing, and healing. These weaknesses deserve our compassion, and they deserve protection too. When we keep them close, we create a sanctuary for the parts of ourselves that aren't yet ready to face the outside world. Choosing to guard our vulnerabilities doesn't mean we're pretending to be unbreakable. It means we're honoring the boundaries that allow us to feel safe and whole. Not everyone will handle our tender places with care, and not everyone can meet us with the empathy or understanding we need. By being mindful about who we trust with our struggles, we can give ourselves the space to explore our weaknesses without the fear of judgment or misunderstanding. This isn't about shutting people out, it's about creating a foundation of self-respect that lets us decide when, where, and with whom we open up. In holding our weaknesses close, we're not just protecting ourselves, we're giving our hearts the space they need to heal and grow on their own terms. And as we strengthen these parts of ourselves privately, we're building a foundation of resilience that can eventually face the world, but only when it's ready. This is an act of self-compassion, a commitment to our own well-being, and a testament to the value of treating ourselves with the same care and respect we would offer to others. Our relationship with money is complex and deeply personal, and there's a quiet wisdom in keeping it private. Money, in many ways, can carry with it stories of success, struggle, security, or even shame. These stories are layered, shaped by experiences that others may not fully understand, and sharing them too openly can expose us to judgments or assumptions that miss the heart of our journey. Holding our financial details close doesn't mean we're hiding, it means we're choosing to protect something sensitive and nuanced. When we reveal too much about our finances, whether we're facing challenges or celebrating wins, we invite in perspectives that might not serve us. Money can be a magnet for opinions, and sometimes these external voices can stir up feelings of comparison, inadequacy, or even guilt. By maintaining boundaries around our financial matters, we create space for us to work through our relationship with money on our own terms, without feeling pressured to meet anyone else's expectations. Keeping our finances private allows us to prioritize what truly matters to us, focusing on security, peace, and the values that guide our financial choices. It's a way of grounding ourselves in our own experience, reminding ourselves that our financial journey is just that, ours. There's a certain freedom in holding on to this privacy, allowing us to celebrate our milestones quietly or work through challenges without the weight of others' opinions. This boundary isn't about secrecy, it's about self-respect, honoring the parts of ourselves that are still unfolding and protecting the journey we're on. Money is one of those deeply personal topics that can bring up emotions tied to security, freedom, and self-worth, so it's no surprise that sharing financial details can sometimes leave us feeling exposed. Our finances are often linked to our values, our dreams, and even our fears, and keeping this part of our lives private can be a powerful act of self-respect. We may hold financial worries, past struggles, or achievements that we don't need to lay bare for others' approval or critique. By keeping these details to ourselves, we're creating a protective space that lets us grow and heal without the added pressure of external judgment. Choosing not to share every financial detail isn't about being secretive, it's about recognizing that our financial journey is ours alone. When we share too openly, we may unintentionally invite comparisons or expectations that can cloud our own perspective on what we truly need or value. Holding financial matters close allows us to focus on our goals without being influenced by what others think we should do or have. This kind of boundary reinforces our sense of stability and self-worth by centering our finances around what genuinely supports our growth and well-being. Guarding this part of ourselves also helps us avoid the trap of defining our worth by numbers alone. It's a reminder that our identity isn't tied to what's in our bank account, but to who we are and what we stand for. We don't need to reveal our financial wins or challenges to feel validated or connected. Instead, we can take comfort in the quiet strength of knowing that our worth goes far beyond what money can measure. This privacy allows us to honor our own journey, build a sense of security on our terms, and keep our focus on the life we're working to create, a life that's defined by our values, not by others' opinions. Our personal lives hold some of the most sacred parts of who we are, our relationships, family dynamics, and the intimate moments that shape us. These details are woven with trust, love, and sometimes pain, making them both powerful and delicate. Sharing openly about our personal lives can feel like a way to connect with others, yet there's also immense value in keeping certain parts of our world private. By holding these details close, we're honoring the significance they hold in our hearts and creating boundaries that protect both ourselves and the people we care about. Choosing not to disclose every aspect of our personal lives doesn't mean we're hiding who we are. Rather, it's an acknowledgement that not everyone will fully understand or respect the nuances of our experiences. Our personal lives often reflect deeply held values, histories, and complex emotions that are best nurtured within a trusted circle. By keeping these moments within that trusted space, we create room for them to be truly seen and respected by those who matter most. Protecting our private lives can also deepen our sense of security and self-worth. When we allow ourselves the freedom to hold our personal stories quietly, we build a foundation of strength that isn't reliant on outside approval or understanding. It's about choosing carefully who we let into our inner world, recognizing that not everyone needs access to these sacred spaces. By respecting our own privacy, we're also honoring the people and experiences that mean the most to us, keeping them safe from the distractions of judgment or gossip. In preserving the privacy of our personal lives, we're giving ourselves permission to grow, reflect, and be fully authentic without the weight of external influence. This boundary helps us nurture our relationships and experiences on our terms, allowing them to blossom in ways that feel genuine and true. It's an act of self love, one that says, I value this part of my life enough to protect it. Our personal lives are woven with the connections, relationships, and moments that are closest to our hearts. These parts of ourselves are often the most meaningful, layered with experiences that have shaped us, taught us, and even healed us. Choosing to keep certain aspects of our personal lives private isn't about hiding, it's about preserving the sanctity of these experiences, creating a space where they can live undisturbed by outside opinions or expectations. There's a quiet wisdom in knowing that not every part of our lives needs to be shared to feel validated or understood. When we reveal too much of our personal lives to the world, we expose these sacred moments to interpretations that might not reflect their true value. Others may not fully grasp the weight, beauty, or complexity of our experiences, and that's okay, they don't have to. By holding these details close, we're honoring the parts of ourselves that need room to breathe, grow, and be cherished without external judgment. This privacy allows us to focus on nurturing our most meaningful connections in ways that feel authentic and safe. Respecting the privacy of our personal lives also reinforces a sense of identity rooted in self-awareness rather than outside validation. It's a way of grounding ourselves, remembering that the value of our relationships and experiences isn't determined by how they're perceived by others. When we choose to share only with those we deeply trust, we create a small circle where our most vulnerable parts can be held with understanding and care. This boundary supports not only our own emotional well-being, but also the intimacy and strength of the relationships we hold dear. Keeping our personal lives private ultimately frees us to live with intention. It reminds us that we don't need to prove anything to anyone. We're allowed to protect the things that matter most, to keep them safe from the weight of public opinion, and to let them thrive in the quiet spaces we create. It's an act of self-respect, a commitment to ourselves and to those we love, allowing our personal lives to be deeply felt, fully honored, and beautifully our own. Our next steps, the choices and moves we're considering, hold a certain energy that can feel both exciting and vulnerable. These plans are often born out of dreams, risks, and intentions that reflect who we're becoming. Choosing to keep our next moves private allows us to nurture them in a protected space, away from the voices that may not fully understand our vision or the courage it took to even imagine it. When we share too soon, we open up our intentions to interpretations, doubts, or judgments that can cloud our sense of purpose and shift our focus. Keeping our next steps to ourselves isn't about secrecy or shutting people out. It's about creating a boundary that honors our growth. It's a way of safeguarding the path we're choosing to walk before it's solidly underfoot. In holding these plans close, we give ourselves room to work through the details, to embrace the challenges, and to adjust without the added pressure of outside opinions. This space allows us to move forward with confidence and clarity, trusting that we're following a path that feels right, even if it's not fully understood by others. When we guard our next moves, we're also allowing ourselves to change and pivot as needed. We're free to explore, to make mistakes, and to refine our direction without feeling like we're on display. This privacy gives us the freedom to stay true to ourselves, to make decisions that reflect our values, and to prioritize what matters most to us. It's a commitment to our journey, letting us unfold at our own pace and in our own way, while reinforcing that we don't need external validation to move forward with purpose. By honoring our next steps privately, we're giving ourselves the grace to be both bold and careful, grounded and hopeful. It's a way of saying, I trust my vision enough to give it the time and space it deserves. This choice lets us create a life that's intentional and authentic, one where each move aligns with our deepest values, allowing us to grow into the future we've envisioned, a future that belongs only to us until we're ready to share it. Our next move is often a reflection of our dreams, goals, and sometimes our fears. It's a step towards something we're working to create, and it deserves to be treated with care. Choosing to keep our next steps private allows us to cultivate a space where we can grow, experiment, and even struggle a little without the scrutiny of others. When we share our plans too early, we may unintentionally invite external pressures or opinions that, while well-meaning, can pull us away from our own intentions. Keeping our next steps closed isn't about being secretive, it's about respecting the process and honoring the importance of our journey. Our next move is often filled with unknowns, and by holding it privately, we give ourselves room to work through doubts or changes without having to explain ourselves. This boundary allows us to be flexible, to pivot if we need to, and to follow what feels right without feeling the need to justify or defend our choices to others. We're preserving our focus and clarity, keeping our attention on the road ahead rather than being distracted by outside influences. Protecting our next move also strengthens our connection to our own voice and intuition. When we guard these intentions, we're telling ourselves that we trust our vision enough to give it time to grow on its own. This self-trust builds confidence and resilience, allowing us to move forward with a sense of purpose that isn't reliant on anyone's approval or praise. It's an act of self-commitment, a choice to focus on what feels meaningful and true, even if it's only understood by us. By holding on to our next steps, we create a safe space for exploration where we're free to dream, to learn, and to refine our path as needed. It's about allowing ourselves to be fully invested in our goals without the weight of external expectations. This privacy lets us move at our own pace, with our own sense of purpose, and allows us to arrive at each decision with clarity and conviction. We're telling ourselves that our journey matters, that our dreams are worth protecting, and that we have the courage to follow our own path one step at a time. Boundaries are a powerful way of honoring ourselves and our needs. They give us permission to protect what matters most: our energy, our time, and our emotional well-being. When we set boundaries, we're taking an active role in shaping our lives and ensuring that we're not giving away parts of ourselves to meet the expectations of others. Boundaries aren't walls to shut people out, they're thoughtful limits that create space for us to grow, heal, and thrive. By setting clear boundaries, we're reinforcing the message that our well-being matters, that our time has value, and that our needs deserve respect. Holding boundaries also allows us to be more present and authentic in our relationships. When we're clear about what we can and cannot give, we're creating a foundation of mutual respect, one that allows connections to flourish without resentment or exhaustion. Boundaries help us stay grounded in our own values and priorities, letting us show up as our best selves for the people and things that matter most. They remind us that we don't have to be everything to everyone, and that it's okay to say no when something doesn't align with our needs or goals. Setting boundaries can be uncomfortable at first, especially if we're used to putting others' needs above our own. But each boundary is an act of self-compassion, a way of saying, I value myself enough to protect what's important. This practice reinforces our inner strength, reminding us that we have the right to decide where our energy goes and who has access to our time and attention. And as we grow more comfortable with boundaries, we begin to see them not as limitations, but as a form of empowerment, a way of creating a life that reflects our true values and aspirations. Ultimately, boundaries allow us to build resilience and cultivate a life filled with intention and purpose. They give us the freedom to invest deeply in the people, pursuits, and experiences that truly nourish us. In holding to our boundaries, we're not only building a stronger relationship with ourselves, but also fostering connections rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Boundaries are an act of self-respect, a declaration of our worth, and a foundation on which we can stand tall, confident, and whole. There's a profound strength in what we choose not to say, in the thoughts and feelings we hold close to our hearts. Power lies in the unspoken moments, in the quiet presence we bring to a situation, in the unexpressed yet deeply felt emotions, and in the restraint that speaks louder than words ever could. In a world that often urges us to be loud and outward, there is a quiet wisdom in knowing when to stay silent, when to let our energy and presence speak on our behalf. Not everything we feel needs to be shared, not every opinion needs to be voiced. Sometimes the most meaningful impact comes from what we leave unsaid. Holding back certain words can be an act of kindness, an acknowledgement that words carry weight, and that once spoken, they cannot be taken back. Silence, used thoughtfully, becomes a tool for building respect, empathy, and connection. It allows space for others to be seen and heard, inviting them into an unspoken understanding that says, I am here with you, without needing to fill the space with noise. The unspoken has a way of creating boundaries that honor our inner world. When we choose to hold certain truths within, we're giving ourselves the space to process, to feel, and to understand without the need for outside validation. This inner reserve is a well of strength, a reminder that we don't need to explain ourselves to feel whole or understood. In honoring what we keep private, we build a deeper trust in ourselves, an ability to hold our own truths with confidence and grace. Power lies in the quiet moments, in the glances that convey understanding, in the pauses that allow room for reflection, and in the restraint that leaves room for deeper connection. In these moments, we find an intimacy that goes beyond words, a shared respect that doesn't need explanation. The unspoken reminds us that silence can hold space for the things that truly matter, allowing our presence and authenticity to shine through in ways that words cannot. This is where true strength lies, in the choice to hold back, to listen, and to let our silence speak with integrity and depth.